Hello, and welcome to Weirdos. I'm Jay.
And I'm Kellen.
And we are back for our second episode of the month. And it is, October's officially spooky season anyways, but we're that much closer to Halloween, which is personally my favorite of the holidays. I kind of like it better than Christmas, honestly. I know you are not that way.
No, Christmas is my all-time favorite. Yeah. Oh, I get so excited.
But yeah, I love Halloween. I love horror. I love it. So we wanted to do kind of a Halloween-y episode. This is actually a pretty simple idea, and I don't know why we didn't think about it last season. But this episode, we're going to talk about fears, and your fears, my fears, just fears in general.
Yeah.
It's such a simple concept. I don't know why we didn't think about it. But I think we'll have a lot to talk about. Because I don't know about you. I have like 10. Some are far graver than others, obviously. Some are a little silly. Some are a little deep. But we have two ways we can start. I'll let you pick.
Okay.
We can start by just going through what our own personal fears are. Or I have a list of the top 12 phobias in America.
Oh, wow.
So, as you take a sip of your tea.
It's so good.
Where are you going to start? You just want to start with us talking about what our phobias are, or do you want to know what the top 12 phobias in America are?
I'm good with either one. Let's do the top 12 and then
So
we can go
because
like
a woman.
Because my fear.
What do you want to eat later?
My fear. I have a very specific story as to why I have that fear.
Okay.
So I think that'll be better. So let's do the 12.
Okay, so we'll just knock out the 12. So this is according to recoveryvillage.com, which I think is kind of a mental health website.
I bet I can guess two of the top three.
Okay.
Public speaking and death.
Public speaking's on there. Death is not on there, which is kind of suspect to me.
Wow.
You should be able to guess number one.
Spiders.
Spiders is number one. So arachnophobia is number one. And this does have the actual name of these. Some of them I might be able to pronounce. Some of them I might not. So, but number one is arachnophobia.
Okay.
Number two is I'm not even fear of snakes.
Okay.
So snakes number two. My dad's scared of snakes. I don't like snakes. I don't think I have a phobia of them. Like I'm not gonna freeze.
Yeah.
When I see one, but unless it's a cobra, or if I was with J-Lo and Ice Cube and an anaconda attacked me. Number two is acrophobia, which is fear of heights.
Okay.
Another one my dad has issues with. Aerophobia. Any guesses what that one is?
Fear of flying.
Fear of flying. Number five, cynophobia.
No clue.
It's the fear of movies. I'm just kidding.
I was about to say.
This is probably my most hated one out of the five. So cynophobia is the fear of dogs. So the top 12 phobias in America, number 5 is dogs. They're so cute and cuddly.
Right.
Like, have you not seen my dog? Come on.
Adorable.
Number 6, astrophobia, which is fear of thunder and lightning, which we had today.
Very frightening.
Number 7, trypanophobia.
It's a fear of 13.
Trypanophobia is fear of injections.
Okay,
that's
makes
something
sense.
that should be number 1 right now in America, right? Because we don't want to get the vaccine. Number 8, social phobia. They didn't even try to make a name for that one. It just says social phobia, which is social anxiety disorder, which I think we all suffer from to a degree. Honestly, it's that meme where it's like a kid. And he's like rubbing his hands. He's like, he's like, damn, I don't want to be here. Like, that's me everywhere. Like, even if it's something like my choosing, like even when we went to the movies the other day, I'm like, I don't really want to be here. I'd rather be home. Like, we all suffer from social phobias. Agoraphobia, which is a fear of a situation that escape might be difficult. So, that's a pretty popular one. Mysophobia.
Fear of mice.
Fear of miso soup. Mysophobia is fear of germs.
Okay.
So I wonder if you can be misophobic and trypanophobic, where you're both afraid of germs and injections.
Huh.
Wonder how that would work out in your life. You would probably be agoraphobic.
Yeah.
Claustrophobia is number 11. I thought that one might be higher. That's not one I personally suffer from, but I could see myself suffer from it. Being a fat person, I don't want to be stuck in a tight little situation, area. Like nothing. No.
Right.
And then number 12 is glossophobia. What do you think that one is?
Glossophobia. Fear of words.
You said it earlier. It's close. public speaking.
Okay, yeah, I figured.
So claustrophobia is the fear of public speaking. So that's the top 12 biggest phobias in America. My biggest phobia is not on there.
Which is?
What's your biggest phobia on there?
Mine was number 1.
Number 1.
Spiders.
I already knew that because I asked you today.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's something else you're scared of? Because I was going to bring props and like put stuff out. But,
Thanks.
It's okay. So arachnophobia is your number 1. I'm kind of that way too. Like I don't like spiders, but they don't freak me out.
Right.
We can start there. Let's start there with your number 1. Let's talk about those little spiders.
Okay, yeah.
Spider-Man.
I could feel them crawling on
Scares the shit out of Kellen, man.
I actually have some funny stories where people I worked with scared me because they found out that I have a fear of spiders, which I should probably stop telling people because that's the first thing that people do. Like, oh, you're afraid of spiders?
And then they come up with your cup in your hand. Look what I have. And it's just like a piece of candy.
So
I would never do that to you, by the way.
So my fear of spiders started when I was young because of my dad. So my dad used to tell me horror stories about spiders when I was younger, which is not what you want to do to your kids is instill your fears on them. But no, my dad's great. But that being said, he told me this story about where he was going out the back door of his house to go get the school bus, and a garden spider, which if you didn't know, are gigantic, the size of your hand.
It's the yellow butt ones, right?
Yeah,
yellow and black.
They're called garden spiders, or I've called them garden spiders, but they have a different name. They're characterized by the web that has the zigzag going towards the center. So told me a story about him going to get to the bus. It had built the web across the span of the back door. So when he opened the door to run out to go to the bus, the spider right there in the middle of his face. Webbing around, it falls backwards, hits his head on concrete, just traumatizing. So I'm imagining this. We had one at our house at the time at the back door. So now I've got that image with that there. And so then he would tell me all these stories about spiders and how they're the worst and how he's afraid of them. And that bled over to me. And I used to have nightmares that a black widow spider outside of our house, I would get the webbing on me, the strand of the web, and I couldn't break it off. And the spider would start coming across the web towards me. And no matter how much I swatted and tried to pull away, the spider web would not break and it would just get closer and closer. So that's where the fear started. Thanks, Dad. But it developed more because, like, the more I thought about it, the more I realized it's a terrifying thing to have something that small that could do that much, like a brown recluse, a funnel web spider, a black widow, something that small that could do that much damage to something so much bigger.
The camel spider. Those are giant. Though.
Yeah.
They eat birds.
Yeah,
and the ones that were at the cabin, fisher spiders. Those are very scary.
But they can be on you and you not know it.
Yeah. And they can lay eggs in your face.
Yeah.
And like, what's this pimple? And then baby spiders come point.
What was the movie?
The book based.
Yeah.
Scary Stories to Tell
Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Yeah. Yeah. They show that in the movie and that was horrifying. So that thought in and of itself is that I could have a brown recluse crawling up my leg and not know it until it was too late.
Yeah.
Like a snake.
But you might not be allergic to them.
Yeah, there's
a 50-50 chance.
Varying degrees of severity in a bite.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's just that thought that, there could be one on you. And then there's every year it comes out multiple times. Well, you swallow 7 or 11 spiders in your sleep every year or in your lifetime. And
that's a lie.
Hey, they like warm, moist places. And what's the most warm, moist place on your body?
Mouth. Your mouth.
If a spider crawls up my butthole, there's so many
spiders in my tummy.
I would die. I would die before it could bite me.
Hello.
But yeah, that's it. Spiders always creep me out. Snakes never really bothered me. Like you said, I wouldn't freeze. Having daughters, when a snake pops or when a spider pops up in the house, I have to overcome that fear for their sake and try not to instill that on them. But they know that I'm afraid of them, so they'll throw plastic.
By the noises you make.
They'll throw plastics. They also throw plastic spiders at me. My in-laws just bought this Halloween.
They're listening.
Jumping spider, this giant spider that leaps out at you. That scared the crap out of me twice in Spirit Halloween today. Both times that I walked past it before I remembered that it was there. It jumped, and I jumped as a fully grown adult.
That's hilarious.
But Yeah, spiders, no thank you.
I get it, and I'm the same way. Like, I hate spiders. Lindsay hates spiders. I remember she was in our closet, and she let out this terrifying scream, and I thought someone was in the house. I'm like, someone's in this house. I'm going to have to defend myself. She's a goner. I'm going to have to either fight or flight. And then I started heading towards the door, and she's like, it was a spider. I'm like, oh, okay. And then I came back in. But it was a giant wolf spider that crawled across her foot. Ugh. But, like, her scream made my chest hurt. I've never really, I don't like them. I usually, like, brown recluses, you're going to get killed. Yeah. The garden spiders, I used to keep those in jars as a kid. Like, we would have them all over the place, and I would put them in a jar because they were pretty.
Yeah.
And then I put little crickets in there. Like, here's a little cricket, dinner time. But it is scary because they're so small and they can do so much damage. And if you Google videos of, like, camel spiders, and I recently saw a video of a tarantula eating a grub, and it was terrifying. Lindsay's brother is in Arizona, New Mexico right now. He actually saw a tarantula, free-range tarantula. Ugh. He's like, it's cool because it's so dry. They don't usually come out. I'm like, that's not cool. That is nothing cool about that. Like, burn it down. Like, no. We do have a brown recluse problem in our house that we're going to have to address. I've been saying we have so many mosquitoes already. I'm like, we got to do something. So now we have ants, and I've put down several traps for brown recluses, and it's a nightmare to look at them.
And you know what the worst part about brown recluses is that they're hunters, so they don't build a web, so you can't just get rid of their webs. So if you have other bugs, they're going to be there, and you can't spray for them. Yeah. Pest control doesn't work because they walk so high up off the ground. The way that it kills other spiders is they drag themselves across, and it gets on them, and then when they clean themselves in, brown recluses don't. So you have to use glue traps and put them against the wall because they basically travel along the baseboards of your house. It's very rare that you just see one out in the middle of the floor.
Jerks.
And so, like, they spray along the baseboards, but the brown recluses just tiptoe across the top of it as they come to murder you in your sleep.
I'm surprised that the glue traps haven't moved by the amount of spiders in them. Like, they keep trying to rock, and it's like halfway across the room. I did when we lived in Hartsville. It's the only time I ever saw a black widow was in our mailbox.
Oh, wow.
When I stuck my hand in it. So dodged a bullet there. I definitely can see not liking spiders. Spiders are terrifying. They're on my list of things I don't like. I don't know if I would have a phobia. I do often walk into their webs. They like to make one across from my car, between Lindsay and I's car. Yeah. So when I go to work in the mornings, I usually run into one, which is just a terrible feeling. And then you feel it the whole way to work.
You can't, no matter how much you paw, you can't get it off of you.
My number one is coulrophobia. Coulrophobia.
Clowns.
Granted, it's stop. Granted, it's not as bad as it used to be. I used to be terrified of clowns. Thank you, John Wayne Gacy is where it started. John Wayne Gacy was a serial killer, and he dressed up as a clown and lured little boys into his basement and then killed them.
Yeah. The clown killer.
Yeah, serial killers are terrifying enough without putting on makeup. You know? Ronald McDonald always kind of skeezed me out. Like, him sitting on the bench with his legs crossed, like, hey, come sit beside me. Like, I don't think so, Buster. Like, I'm not coming over there. I guess it kind of started from It, the Stephen King novel movie. That's the only thing I can think of is where it came from, is I must have caught that on TV. Because I used to watch Bozo the Clown. Bozo the Clown was creepy, too. I used to watch him in the mornings, and I loved the bucket game where there were buckets and you had to bounce a ping pong ball. But Bozo was creepy, too. But I must have caught it or something. It's the only movie I can think of during the time frame that would have been on when I was a kid that would kind of deter me from clowns.
First episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark?
True.
The clown.
That's one, too.
That one scared me because of the balloon. The fact that clown blew the balloon up under the door to unlock the latch, that was like, oh, that's terrifying.
Right, that could really happen. Like, killer clowns from outer space aren't scary. You know, like, that was out around the same time.
Yeah.
But I remember in Hartsville, small town, we had the Christmas parade, and me and my friends, I think it was Jonathan Harper, and I think Jason Troop was the other guy, and we're like, we're going to go be in the parade. Unsolicited. So this was in my I only wear sweatpants phase. Okay. So I was wearing red sweatpants and a red matching sweater.
You're welcome, ladies.
You can see it all if I get wet. But it was festive. But we're gonna jump in, and the parade started at my cousin's house. I'm like, we'll go to my cousin's house, and then we'll like just hop in. You know? But the Shriners were there. And they were in their clown makeup and their tiny little cars. And they kept driving around. And they're like, are you guys in the parade? I'm like, yeah. They're like, you want to walk with us? I'm like, no, absolutely not. And they kept like getting close to us. And I was like, these guys are going to kill us. Like, these Shriners, are they Shriners? Are they really? Like, and my friends knew that I was afraid of them. So they were like, hey, come talk to him. Come talk to him. Come talk to him. And they would come talk to me. Awful. Going to haunted houses in high school and college and beyond, you know, you can't have a haunted house without clowns, obviously. Yeah. So there's always a fun house. But my friends were so awesome that every time we went, they would always tell the clowns that I'm afraid of clowns.
Wow, you know? Thanks, guys.
Yeah. So, you know, there's one that I remember, I think it was Monster Mountain, and the best haunted house ever, R.I.P. But
I've heard that from other people as well.
It's fantastic. It was fantastic. But there was a fun house room, and it was kind of like a maze, and there were doors you had to pick, but there were clowns behind all the doors. Like, it was just like, sucker. Like, and that's when they're like, you know, he's afraid of clowns, and they followed me like through the whole haunted house.
Oh, wow.
Like, one clown just followed me. I'm like, just kill me. I don't want to deal with this. But now I've matured so much. Like, clowns don't bother me so much anymore. Yeah. But it's definitely something like I don't want to be in a dark alley and I don't want to see a balloon. I don't want to hear clown music. I don't want to see someone on a unicycle. Absolutely not. Like, I would pee my pants and then just die right there in that alley. But you know, I just watched a movie called Clown Motel, which is about a motel with clown ghosts. And what's funny about it is,
sounds hilarious.
As awful as it is, it's like a 60% rating on it, which is a positive number.
Yeah,
you know,
it's not bad.
The first Jason is in it, Ari, who I met in Ohio.
Yeah.
Which is part of the reason I wanted to watch it. But this Clown Hotel actually exists in Nevada.
Yeah.
So it's an actual hotel. Google the Clown Hotel in Nevada and then go to sleep and see what you dream about. But they made a movie of it. The movie's terrible. But the funniest part is it was almost like Mortal Kombat. Like, after you win, you fight somebody new, you know, like the next opponent. Yeah. So like these clowns would come, and then there were porcelain dolls of all the clowns. Oh. And then one would just disappear. And then that clown would appear in real life and go after these people.
Wow.
I hate porcelain clowns too. And like that. But I'm not as afraid of clowns now as I was, just because I don't really run into them that much anymore. And I'm so desensitized from all the movies and TV shows I've watched. Like, I think, and this is going to be a question we're going to ask on Instagram, but like, what's the scariest clown that you can think of? Like, I love Sig Haig, like Captain Spaulding. Like, he doesn't bother me. But I think one of the scariest ones to me was Twisty the Clown from American Horror Story.
Oh, yeah. And
he was terrifying until, like, all seasons of American Horror Story, they just pooped the bed after season 6, like after episode 6. So like the first half of every season is fantastic, and then they just completely drop the ball for some reason. I don't know why. Like, just make it 6 episodes, man. But Twisty the Clown was terrifying, and then after that 6th episode, he wasn't terrifying anymore. But that's definitely something we're gonna ask. Like, tell me your clown you hate.
Yeah, you talked about the little porcelain dolls. I think, especially in the South, I think it's a pretty safe assumption to say that we all knew somebody, either a relative or a friend, who had a relative that had the doll room.
My grandmother has the doll room, so I would be that cousin, that friend.
Those my friend Ronnie Rogers, his mom had one, and that was the most terrifying room ever. There's no rational. I don't know. I don't know. It was dolls, bears, stuffed bears, maybe. It just everywhere. And there's so many horror films and franchises about dolls that come to life and puppets and whatever. And so those rooms always creep me out. I wouldn't say I had a phobia of them, but if it was like, hey, I'll give you $10,000 to sleep in this doll room, I'd be like, you can just keep your money.
That's how my grandmother's back room was. It was full of dolls. She collected dolls her entire life, and this room was dedicated to them. You open the closet, dolls fall out. You open drawers and cabinets, there's dolls in there. Like, this is a nightmare. I used to There's one I always thought looked like Chucky.
Yeah.
And my cousins would always come over and we would play. And sometimes they would spend the night, and I would put Chucky in random places and put like a butter knife in his hand and ketchup. And I'm like, what's he doing? He's going to kill us all. Like freak them out. And they would call their parents and come get them. Then I would get in trouble. But my grandmother definitely had that room. And when I stayed there, I was kind of adjacent to it. And I'm like, I would always put my Marvel figures and my Ninja Turtles in front of the room to protect me in case the dolls came. Because if the dolls come to life, then obviously my action figures can come to life too, and they can defend my honor.
That and your Avon cologne gun.
And my Avon, that was for aliens, Cullen. Come on. Avon guns were for aliens, which is also, I didn't write this down, but aliens are also a phobia kind of mine, just because I think they do exist. I think they're out there. Something's out there. If they were and they wanted to come and kill us, what's stopping them?
Yeah.
Like
if they have the technology to get here, they have the technology to wipe us out.
Yeah.
Without breaking a sweat or whatever aliens do when they get worked up.
Just call Will Smith. Come help us.
Punch him in the face and then take Jeff Goldblum to give a virus to the mothership. Will, that was a movie.
Based off a true story. That's why we celebrate the 4th of July. Pretty sure.
It's not just a podcast, it's a history lesson.
All the different countries listen, like, that's why? Somebody in Jordan is so confused right now.
What? I had no idea.
I don't like aliens. I don't like heights either. We talked about heights a little bit. Aerophobia or acrophobia. Aerophobia is flying. I don't like flying either. That's a new thing, but that's part of the heights. Like I would just cover my ears and rock while we're taking off on the plane. I'm like, it just makes me so nervous.
Yeah,
and it's to the fact that I've had such terrible luck in life. This is a callback to episode 1.
Luck
that if a plane was going to crash, I would probably be on it.
I've never been on a plane, but I don't feel like
crazy to me.
I don't feel like I would be afraid of it because I've been up in high places. I mean, granted that just being up in a tower that's 120 feet off the ground is not,
or jumping from roof to roof.
20,000, jumping from roof to roof, from my garage to my house. But yeah, heights never really bothered me. Like climbing up a ladder, getting on top of the roof of my house to brush the leaves off, so I can't imagine that I would be too terrified. But then again, it's a totally different thing, and it's out of your
right?
When it's out of your control.
Yeah, I think that's part of it for me is I have no control. If something happens, I mean, you can't jump out.
Yeah,
it's just you're doomed. Maybe you land in water, but how long until you just get sunk down and people fighting for their own lives? It's just.
Have you seen the plane that they've what is it? It's in I don't even know. It's in testing. It's theorized. The whole cabin. If something was to go wrong and the plane was going to go down, the entire cabin would eject from the body of the plane, and then giant parachutes would come out, and the entire cabin would safely float to the ground.
So how long have we been flying in planes, and they just now thought of that? Seriously, that should already be a thing in planes crash. What is the pilot just screwed?
Hey, it's like the ship. You go down with the ship. Yeah,
that should be something already. That should already be
a thing.
Like that. That's my. That should.
Yeah. Well,
I am flabbergasted that this isn't already a thing, and it should be.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's the velocity. Like you couldn't just do it with an actual the whole airplane because you're flying at hundreds of miles an hour, and you deploy a parachute. One, is it going to actually stay attached or just gone into the ether as the plane continues to crash? Yeah. Or two, is the drag from the parachute going to be so much that it rips the plane apart? So I think that's why they're theorizing on how to eject, because I think the angular momentum, I'm not smart enough to actually tell you all of this, but I think the angular momentum would change the forward momentum enough to where the parachutes could be effective. I think that's the whole premise, why they would need to eject the cabin from the plane itself, because you're going from forward motion to upward motion.
Yeah.
You could slow down that, because now there's nothing thrusting it forward. So.
But why couldn't there be something on the bottom?
I don't know.
I don't know. The thing is to just not get in a plane. If you don't get in a plane, it can't crash.
Yeah, even though statistically it's the safest way to travel.
It's because like one person in a car. I don't know.
Well, there's a I can't remember what it's called, but there's it's squares, 9 squares.
Hollywood
it's basically,
squares?
No, it's
Checkers.
basically the vertical axis is severity, or the horizontal axis is severity, and the vertical axis is likelihood. And
like the hot crazy scale on How I Met Your Mother.
Kind of like that, yeah.
See, why don't you explain it like that?
And so what you do is you can place things in that based on the likelihood that it can happen and the severity of what would happen. So like with a car wreck, the likelihood is way high because car wrecks happen all the time.
Right.
But the severity is typically low because the average car accident is a fender bender. You know, rear-end somebody, you hit something stationary. So the likelihood that it's going to happen is high, but the severity is low. Yeah. With an airplane, the likelihood is way low, but the severity is high because if the plane goes down, the likelihood of you surviving is almost zero.
Yeah.
So I guess if you put that into consideration, then yeah, I can understand why, driving a car makes more sense than hopping in a plane, that if something was to go down, hope you're high enough up to make that phone call to be like, hey guys, I'm not coming back.
Just do a quick Facebook post. Like, Dylan does get everything I own. That's cool. I still need to put that in writing for you. So what else do you have besides spiders?
So public speaking is it's one of those things that I don't like to do, but it's not such a fear that I can't do it.
More like a chore.
It's like the nervousness of having to do it. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, I'm a low talker anyway, so I got to be in my communications class, not because I wouldn't do the speeches, but because I don't project.
Right.
And
that's
part of
true.
and part of that I think is because there is those emotions that you get, the nervousness, so you tend to speak faster when you're nervous to try to get through. So you don't poop your pants. I got to get this done so I can ski-daddle out the door. But it's one of those things, like, I mean, and the thing with spiders too is, I can overcome that, but it's the difference for me is that if I had to do a speech, I could do a speech. 1,000 people, 100,000 people. If I had to, if it was something like, hey, you've got to do this, I could do it. If somebody was like, hey, congratulations, you're a contestant on Fear Factor, getting this box full of spiders, I'd be like, see you, Joe, I'm out. That's not going to happen. But it's $50,000. Well, it's $50,000 that's not going into my account because I'm not getting enough. But they're not poison. It doesn't matter what they are. If I feel 8,000 tiny legs on me, I'm going to poop out of my mouth on national television. And then I'm going to be known as the guy that pooped out of his mouth.
That's the human centipede guy.
Yeah, so I think that's the fear there. The heights thing, like I said, the heights don't necessarily bother me. I can't really think. The one thing that I've always had, and this is probably unique considering who I am as a person, like I've said multiple times, I'm kind of emotionally mute.
Barren?
Yeah. I'm very emotionally dry. Movies and commercials, TV shows aside, like normal day-to-day life with people, I'm very just kind of there. But one of my biggest fears is emotionally hurting somebody. Like doing something to somebody that is going to affect them on an emotional level more than just being, mad or upset. Like they're going to carry it with them. Like I'm going to be in their memory forever because I was the asshole that did this and it caused
take apart their stuffed animals after a breakup.
No, that was vengeful. So
didn't affect her long term.
No, I don't think so because she was over it pretty quick.
And under it.
Yeah. No, but just like, which is, again, it's hard to explain because like when people ask me like, hey, what do you think about me as a person? I'm usually pretty blunt. Like, you kind of suck sometimes. But
no.
but just, I don't know. It's just that fear of letting someone down on a personal level. I hate that. So I tend to overextend myself, or I try to do more than I probably should to avoid that, both in, my interactions and then also avoiding, serious conversations or doing something that might lead to an emotional situation. Because like I said, I'm kind of emotionally flat. So then I don't know how to act in that situation. Empathy is very foreign to me. So just I've got.
He's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry that happened to you, but I don't know what to do for you. So
you told me earlier when I asked you another one, you said whispering in your ear.
Oh God, yeah. So
tell me about. Does this bother you right now? So it actually has to be the lips on your ears.
So here's the thing.
That's a turn on for some people.
Yeah. Well, those people are sick and they can catch these hands. Yeah, and that is well known. So, if we're going to talk personal, there are two.
I mean, that's what the show's all about.
Yeah. So I hate people touching my feet, but that's because of a ticklish thing. Like I'm super ticklish. So someone touches my foot, get out, and they get kicked in the face, and then I'm the asshole. No, but like my belly button. I hate for anybody to put their finger in or near my belly button.
This is outside your immediate family.
Just in general,
even your belly button.
Even Megan, like I think her finger has only entered the orifice that is my belly button one time in 17 years. And that was because I did something I can't remember.
Blacked her eye?
No. No, I did something I can't remember. She's ticklish in one spot, and I tickled the bejesus out of her, and so she told me never to do it again, and I did it, and she was like, okay, I get to touch your belly button. And I was like, that was not the deal. So I hate that. I hate it.
Well,
I
always thought that you could punch your belly button too hard and give yourself a hernia. Like I was always scared to like clean my belly button.
More reason for nobody to touch my belly button ever.
Do you have an Audi?
No, I have an innie. I have a deep innie.
Could hide. You just got to push in.
Could hide nickels in there in case I ever needed some spare change.
Quarters over here.
But the ear thing is more of an ASMR. I hate verbal ASMR. I love visual. Like I can watch videos of people decorating sugar cookies all day. Could watch that all day. But somebody just whispering like this into a microphone, and I hate it. I hate it so much it crawls up my spine. Just doing that was the worst. But the ear thing is, I don't want your hot, moist breath in my ear hole at all. One. And then two, to have you in my ear going, I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't want any part of it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to be in the same room where it's happening. I hate it so much. And again, it goes back to I should not tell people these things because my daughters absolutely love to put their face right up next to mine when they're hugging me. Dad. And sneak one in. They'll hug me, and then they'll lean back and be like, I love you. I'm like, oh, get off of me, you Satan child. Hate it so much.
That's strange.
Yeah.
Like, I don't.
You have anything like that?
I don't mind that. It doesn't bother me. I definitely want like strangers come up to me like, hey, what's your name? Like, I don't lick my ear or anything. And whatever spiders they've swallowed are probably going to spit into my ear.
Lay their eggs.
I don't want anybody touching my belly button either. I totally get that. That's just a weird thing to do. Like if it's your wife, we don't go there. That's not.
Yeah, those videos of the really big guys that are just like taking their middle finger and circling their belly button. I'm like, ugh.
OnlyFans.
What is wrong with you?
People pay good money to watch videos like that.
I guarantee there's a fetish for that.
Oh yeah, it's. I wouldn't like. You ever taken a shot off someone's navel?
No. Mm-mm.
Good for you. Me either.
And it doesn't bother me though somebody else's belly button. If they were like, look at my belly button, I'd be like, that's weird, but okay. But if they were like, let me lick yours, I'd be like, get out. Get out.
No, I think I'm more the other way. I'd rather you lick my belly button than me lick somebody else's. The whispering thing, like something that bothers me is like someone who has like too much water in their mouth, like, hey guys, and they claw like this. Like I can't stand that. There's a guy on NPR who has that. Like I just imagine his head being gigantic and it just swishes when he moves into the water. Like, it's just full of water. I can't stand that. Billy Quizboy on the Venture Brothers. If you ever watched the Venture Brothers, he had a giant head and he talked like this. I can't stand that. The other ones I kind of wrote down, like just a quick one, like chemical warfare is kind of something. It's a phobia. There's a difference between phobia and fear.
Yeah,
phobia like leaves you like you can't do anything. Like I fear like a nuclear fallout, nuclear war. But like being alone was one I always thought, like dying alone.
Yeah.
Just dying in general. I have a fear of that just because my personal beliefs and the way they've changed over the years is, am I ready? When I die, am I going to be ready? First of all, I could die on the way home tonight.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
This could be the last episode. This is Jay signing off. Like, this could be the last episode. We don't know that. I've always feared that. Like, what if there's nothing else? Like, we just talked with Rodney on the last episode. You know, you want to feel like your life meant something. I don't want to die unexpectedly and leave nothing, you know? So being alone and dying alone has always been, rejection's always been kind of a phobia of mine. Like you, like I extend myself too much. I try to please everybody, and you just can't please everybody. It's just not possible. I get in a bad situation now with like my dad and trying to please him and trying to do other things that I know should be done, and it's just that's a nightmare.
And then it builds up too, and then you end up exploding on somebody, or not necessarily exploding, but you end up getting short-tempered because you overextended yourself in other directions.
Rip somebody a new belly button.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do that usually at work with people. They bring me something. What's wrong with you? Get the hell out of my office. We talked about claustrophobia. That's definitely one I could see myself getting. I've fortunately never been in a situation, but like being buried alive.
Yeah.
Like it goes back to being helpless too and not being able to control things, but I don't want to crawl through things. Like that's where my claustrophobia would kick in. Like if I had to get from point A to point B, but I had to go through a tube or like rock climbing and go through a cave. Yeah. That terrifies me.
Have you seen those videos of the people going through the hole just big enough to fit through?
Yeah, and it makes me nauseous.
So it doesn't bother me, but the thought of having to do it myself, I'm like, what if you can't turn around? You're going one direction,
how do you
feet first or head first.
Do you just go backwards? Like Zoe has recently mastered the art of walking backwards, but she stops when she hits something. I could not, like, is that what you have to do? Like, you either get to the point where there's an opening, and then you turn around, or you get to the point where, oh, I guess we were wrong. There's nothing here. And then you crawl backward. And I don't want any part of that ever.
Yeah. There's a cave, I think, in Kentucky, maybe, where there's a trench that you cross over. You have to put your feet on both sides and walk across. I'm like, why?
Right.
Like, I guess my thing with that is, like, what is it in people that makes them want to do that?
They want to die.
Like, maybe that's what it is. Maybe they go on the top of cranes on buildings and hang off with no parachute because they have a desire.
Insane.
Like I said, I'm not afraid of heights, but I'm also not going to put myself in that situation. I'm not going to hang from the girder of a 80-story building that's not been finished just because, oh, look at me.
Right. They're building either apartment or a condo across from my office right now, and they have a crane.
Yeah.
And I swear to you, those ladders that they have to go up just look like those like aluminum ladders you buy. And I'm like, no. Yeah. Like just looking at it, like makes me queasy. Like,
and they make the hole that you crawl through big enough for a body. It's like they don't make it
not
big
this
enough.
Body though.
Did you ever watch Dirty Jobs with Mike Rowe?
No.
There was one that I saw, and this one actually, I'm not really claustrophobic, but watching him do it and knowing what was around him did get to me. It did make me nervous. It was there. So the bridges that we see going across water, you can get into those towers and go down to check to make sure there's no rust or anything that's building up. So he went in and then goes down, and there's literally a hole in the base that you go into to go into the lower part to check things out. And that got to me because I have a fear of water. Don't know why I didn't bring that up. But anyway, to know that he was in a space big enough for two adults, because that's how many was in there, and apparently the guy to hold the camera down in the hole to record, underwater in that tight space, completely closed off with no external light except the light they brought with them.
Yeah, no.
Because the thought of being in that situation and the light going out, and that, how do I get out? Yeah. Like, how do I get out of here? Where's the hole? One, that two. Terrifying. Where do I go? Like, I think in that situation, I probably would freeze.
Yeah, and then drown.
Yeah,
yeah. I don't like that either. Like I've seen movies where you have to swim through like a tunnel to get somewhere. Like in Congo, they had to go underwater and go through this tunnel to get to where the mean gorillas were, and the diamonds. But yeah, I couldn't even imagine that. Especially with no light, and if your light does die, like, oh shoot, I thought this this flashlight was waterproof. It's not. And then bloop, 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 you sink to the bottom like that. That sounds terrible.
Yeah.
I had fear of failing on there too, and I think that's natural for everybody. Like no one wants to fail.
Yeah.
No one wants to lose, even though we do all the time. But yeah, clowns are my number one. They have been, will be. Now, the more that we've talked about claustrophobia, that might be next. I don't ever want to find out. Like, is there anywhere I can crawl and test it? But no, I'm not gonna ever do that.
Well, it's a different thing to be in a controlled environment. Like if I was in a room and they're like, "Hey, there's boxes of spiders," like at a zoo, I'm fine with that because I know that it's a controlled environment. They're behind glass; they can't physically get to me. But if I was in a room and they were like, "Hey, there's spiders all in the room,"
there's spiders somewhere.
Yeah. That's terrifying. I think the claustrophobia thing would be the same thing. Like
that's one right there. Just
yeah, I think
Bazinga.
I think I think if it was like, hey, climb into this box that you can easily get out of, and there's no way for anybody to trap you in, I can do that. Yeah. Let me climb in that. But if if you get in and then somebody shut the lid and locked it, then I think there's panic there because now there's no control anymore. I think that's the biggest thing is the control, loss of control.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, with any situation, I think that's it too. I like to be in control, even driving. Like,
yeah,
I hate driving, but I'd rather be doing it because at least I know I'm in control. If something happens, I know my reflexes. I trust myself.
So how did that work out when you and Krista dated? Because she's the same way. She has to drive, which worked out great for me because anytime we went anywhere, she always drove. Well, it wasn't that bad then.
That's more something. Krista drove everywhere. She drove to Canada.
Yeah.
Thanks, Krista.
I loved her for that. Driving all the time. Hey, you want to go see this show? Yeah.
That's a great quality to have.
And just sit in the passenger seat. The same thing with you when we went to Lexington and we went to Knoxville. You drove both of the trips, and I'm like, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, but you owe me. You owe me now. I'm just saving that up.
Surprise.
Well, that part, like, as much as I like to be in control, if we're driving a long distance and I have the option not to be driving, I'll take it, and I'll just close my eyes and hope for the best. Yeah. I don't get that chance very often.
Yeah.
We argue, like, you're going to drive. You're going to drive. You're going to drive.
Right.
I usually end up driving. She does pretty good about it, though. But I wish she was more like, I love to drive. Let's drive.
Yeah.
Please do. So, but that's, I was thinking about the mysophobia, which is fear of germs.
Yeah.
And I've probably touched my face about 25 times since we've been doing this podcast. So I obviously don't have that because I would be dead. It's like I'm constantly rubbing my eyes. Like, I get styes in my eyes all the time. And he's like, because you touch your face so much. I'm like, it's itchy. I have to touch it. I can't not touch my face. But I don't like germs, but I'm still going to touch my face. Sorry, COVID. I haven't got COVID yet. I've been touching my face. So
yeah, I already got it. And vaccinated, so I should be immune.
Bulletproof.
Or I'll get it and it'll just wipe me out. The second time I get it, it's like, oh.
Third time's a charm for COVID.
You didn't know the vaccine was actually a booster to make COVID worse.
Surprise. I'm worried the vaccine is more of makes you impotent more than anything. That's what seems to be happening.
Oh. We're sharing.
Yeah. All right. Well, you have any other fears you didn't bring up since you just pulled water out of your behind?
Yeah. Well, that one also has a childhood story of trauma. I was in Cub Scouts and one of the Weeblos, I guess, and so Cub Scouts was patches, Boy Scouts was badges, merit badges. Mm-hmm. Weeblos was belt clips. So you got these. You had your Weeblo belt, and then you had these clips that you slide on your belt. And so one of them was for swimming. So my mom found a pool at a country club in White House, Tennessee, that offered swimming.
Classy.
Yeah, it was very nice from what I remember, except the trauma I experienced that you're about to find out about here in a minute. But she found a swimming lesson, so the whole scout troop went. Perfectly fine with water. Never thought about it. Wasn't an issue. Go through the swimming lessons. We learned the backstroke, the breaststroke, the whatever other strokes you learn. Butterfly, sure. I don't think we learned that. Doggy paddle, we learned that. We learned how to float.
That was natural. That's just instinct.
Start flailing your arms and legs. But at the end of the first week, it was a 2-week thing. And at the end of the first week, got to jump off the diving board, take a hard right, and swim to the edge. So, jump in feet first, go to the edge. It was like 5 feet. Sure. You've learned how to swim in the shallow end. You've learned how to swim in the deep end. No, you just dive into the deep end and swim to the side. So I get on the diving board, super excited, like squints from the sand lot. I jump in. But instead of sinking, I ended up swimming to the side, but I wasn't turning my head or lifting it up. I was just throwing my arms. Mm-hmm. Well, Kevin, who looked like a Ken doll, that was the swim instructor, came and yanked me out of the pool. My mom's over on the side with him. I thought I was fine. My form must have looked like a kid that was drowning. So yanks me out of the pool and is like, "Are you okay? You almost drowned." I did what almost, huh? And so I freaked. Super scared. So the next week, I refused to get in the deep end. Stayed in the shallow end. Everybody else swimming in the deep end. I'm in the shallow end. So
just posting up here.
Get to
for the ladies.
Get to that Friday, and to pass our swimming test to get our belt clip was to jump in off the diving board, swim to the shallow end. So the length of the pool, which was only probably 20, 30 feet, mm-hmm. but I couldn't do it. So I told Kevin, I was like, "I can't do it." He's like, "Come on, all your friends are going to pass. You need to pass too." It's like, "I can't do it. I'm sorry. I can't do it." So he's like, "Well, come sit next to me by the pool and we can watch your friends jump off the diving board. And then if you feel comfortable, then you can." Okay. Some bitch tries to throw me in the pool. So I'm now kicking, flailing. I'm 100 pounds soaking wet, just arms and legs everywhere. Get over to the fence around the pool and I latch on like a spider monkey. So my mom was mad because I was embarrassing her. Kevin was trying to pull me off of the fence. I would not do it. And from that point until an adult, I refused to get in water.
Really?
Yeah. Pool parties, I would get in if the pool was shallow enough everywhere for me to. But if there was an edge that went down and I could go into the deep end, nope, no thank you. Unless there was one of those ropes going across and signifying where the deep end started. Yeah. Yeah.
I had no idea. I learned something new about you tonight.
Yeah, but I've since not necessarily conquered it. I'm not getting in the ocean any deeper than my knees.
Yeah.
But as far as like a regular pool, like I can go in the deep end, swim around fine, and jump off the diving board. Everything's cool because I
had an uncle. He wasn't really my uncle. He tried to teach me how to swim by throwing me off a dock in a lake. Guess how I did not learn how to swim? I'm like, no. Like, I didn't like this man to begin with. And that's how he wanted to. He also had I think he owned apartments. So he was had a team that cut grass and everything. He wanted me to weed eat and mow the yard. I'm like, no. I'm like, I have a headache. I have to stay in the car. But why you ask me to do that? Wow. I think I was a fish in my previous life because I love being in the water.
Yeah.
I don't like it when I can't see.
That's why you go to the beach every year.
Yeah. Don't go to Myrtle Beach. It's dirty over there. Myrtle Beach is dirty. Go to the Panhandle. But yeah, man. Lindsay's parents have a pool. You want to come over?
I'm totally fine with pools. Okay. Above ground pools, in-ground pools. I'm totally fine with the deep end now. Like I said, I can jump off the diving board and swim just fine.
Big boy.
Yeah. I grew up out of that. Now, dark water?
Like the movie?
Lakes, rivers?
No.
Now, I can do the Caney Fork in a canoe with a life vest. I'm safe with that. I've done that before.
Life vest and a prayer going down the Caney Fork.
Which, if you start from the dam side, it'll basically carry you down to about Gordonsville, which is a pretty good way. It's like 20 miles.
That's a long way,
yeah. Then after that, you have to paddle, and that's the worst. But no, dark water, no thank you. Like I said, the ocean, I can get to my knees, but then I've seen too many movies. I've seen Jaws. I know what happens in
one movie
water.
You haven't seen that I have seen recently that you would hate. It's called 12 Feet. And it's about two girls who are at in a pool, a public pool, like at a YMCA. And it's Thanksgiving weekend. And
is that the one where the tarp goes over them?
Tobin Bell is the guy in charge from Jigsaw from Saw.
Yeah.
And he leaves and he thinks they're gone. But at some point, so one of the girls is engaged and the friend hates the boyfriend. So she threw her ring in the pool. So I can't find my ring, and they see it, so they go down, try to find it, and then the pool cover closes. So they're stuck here while it's closed. There's more to it than that, but that was blah. I couldn't even imagine that claustrophobic right there,
Yeah.
But then a fear of water kicks in too. But yeah,
sounds like a nightmare.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, I think that's going to wrap up the fear episode now that we've generally scared the bejesus out of ourselves. If you like the episode, make sure that you follow us on the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Just search Weirdos a Podcast. If you watch us on YouTube, search Weirdos a YouTube channel.
Even if you didn't like what you heard, go ahead and do all that stuff.
And make sure that you also leave a comment on what your fear is if you happen to see this episode. So,
please.
For Weirdos, I'm Kelly.
And I'm Jay. And until next time,
keep it weird.